Call the honourable member for Hughes.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Please, tonight at this late hour, as the clock approaches 11 p.m, that I rise to speak on the Marriage Amendment, Definition and Religious Freedoms Bill. Deputy Speaker, in my electorate of Hughes, the vote came back 58% for, 42% no. Therefore, I'll be voting yes on this particular bill. And I acknowledge and I pay credit and congratulate my colleagues that advocated for the yes case, how they advocated with conviction, how they advocated strongly, and how ultimately they were successful. And to every same-sex couple that is now intending to get married, I wish them all the best. And maybe, if their expenditure, Deputy Speaker, we may even see a further boom and a further kick-up in our economy if everyone we hear that plans to get married will do so early in the new year. But saying that, Deputy Speaker, I'd also like to make a few comments on the process that led us here. Now, it was the Coalition's election policy to take a plebiscite, to have a plebiscite if we're successful at the last election. And Deputy Speaker, it's been disappointing during this debate that some have used this to attack each other on a partisan basis. Especially, Deputy Speaker, many that have in this chamber that have said, well, just get on it. Especially, Deputy Speaker, when many of those same people sat on this side of the House for 6 years, when they had control of the Senate, and they could have changed the laws on same-sex marriage any single day, but for 6 years they didn't, Deputy Speaker, and now they come into this chamber and they criticise the Coalition for so-called not getting on with it. And they are the same people, Deputy Speaker, that also voted against the plebiscite, which could have been held in February earlier this year. So the same-sex marriage that everyone is saying get on with it, could have been lawful, Deputy Speaker, if that plebiscite, if the Senate had have passed that and allowed that to go ahead in February. We would be a good 10 months down the track, and there would be many same-sex couples, Deputy Speaker, that would be married in 2017 that instead will be married in 2018. The other reason that I believe the plebiscite was the correct way to go is because it gave every single Australian a say in this process. And one thing I found, Deputy Speaker, about the many same-sex couples that I know, ultimately, Deputy Speaker, is they want acceptance and they want recognition from the rest of society. And that's what I believe the successful yes vote gave them. Many people that were otherwise opposed to same-sex marriage, once having had their say and voting no at the plebiscite, Deputy Speaker, having seen that they lost that vote, will now be much more accepting in our society of same-sex marriage than they would have ever been had the legislation simply been rammed through the Parliament. So, Deputy Speaker, I think we can say the process that got us here, yes, it was long and yes, it was arduous, but it was a successful process that I believe, Deputy Speaker, ultimately will give those couples, same-sex marriage couples that are getting married, the greatest respect and the greatest recognition across our society. But, Deputy Speaker, this bill also, by its title, discusses religious freedoms. Therefore, it's quite pertinent, Deputy Speaker, that the issues of religious freedoms are discussed in this debate. Because the question is, Deputy Speaker, where should we actually draw the line? Where should we draw the line between what is unlawful to discriminate against someone based on their sexual orientation and someone's religious freedoms? That is a fair question, Deputy Speaker, and I am not exactly sure, in my mind, where exactly that line should be drawn. But I agree that there should be a line. For example, should an imam have the right to decide who they will and will not marry in a mosque? What side of the line should we sit there, Deputy Speaker? Should a priest in a Catholic church have the right to decide who they will and will not marry? What about a registered marriage celebrant or of an independent religious organisation? Should they have the right who they will or will not marry? Or what about a marriage celebrant, Deputy Speaker, that holds very strong religious convictions? Should they be forced to marry someone against their will? This is the question of where we should draw the line. Or what about, Deputy Speaker, a master of ceremonies? A master of ceremonies as an MC at weddings, someone that holds very strong religious beliefs. Should we have legislation that takes away their right to decide who they'll perform, what wedding they'll be an MC at? Or what about a musician or a singer with hold strong religious reviews? Should they be forced to perform at a particular event if it's against their religious conscience or their belief? And of course then we get on, Deputy Speaker, to the famous case of the cake maker in the USA. Now I think if someone's supplying a plain wedding cake, or perhaps, Deputy Speaker, that is further than where the line should go. But what about if that wedding cake is actually decorated with certain messages or the argument that is an artistic work? Deputy Speaker, I'm not saying that I have the answers to these questions. And that's why I support the process of the former member for Barara, the Honourable Philip Ruddock, to look through these and to work out, and that we discuss this in an open and civilised debate without any name-calling, Deputy Speaker, without any bad faith from either side, about where we should draw that line between religious freedoms and, Deputy Speaker, and what is actually conduct which is unlawful discrimination. However, Deputy Speaker, I do have some concerns with the existing bill, and this goes to the list that is on the Attorney General Department's site to find a marriage celebrant. Currently, Deputy Speaker, there are three main categories. The first category is Commonwealth registered marriage celebrants who perform civil ceremonies. The second is for marriage celebrants who perform religious ceremonies for independent religious organisations. And the third, Deputy Speaker, is a list of all ministers of recognised denominations who perform religious ceremonies. Now, the second and third categories under the proposed bill will actually be exempt or will be given their religious freedom, that they'll have the right to decide which weddings that they will and will not preside over. And, Deputy Speaker, I think that's correct. However, Deputy Speaker, the first category that I mentioned, the Commonwealth marriage celebrants who perform civil ceremonies, they will have 90 days to make a declaration about whether they want to go on a separate list where they are actually opting out of performing all weddings. Deputy Speaker, I have great concerns with that proposal. I have great concerns about a government having a list of people that holds a minority opinion on any particular area, especially when someone that goes on that list, Deputy Speaker, has no protections from harassment or vilification. My other concern, Deputy Speaker, is that if we are going to have religious freedoms, an important part of religious freedoms is the ability to change one's belief over time. Someone throughout their life, Deputy Speaker, may hold many different positions on religion and their religious beliefs. And that is a fundamental basis of our free and open society, that someone can decide to change those beliefs freely without risk of sanction or threats or intimidation or harassment from anyone. Now, the problem that we have by having a 90-day period, a 90-day window, where celebrants who perform civil ceremonies can transfer. Someone, Deputy Speaker, that is registered as a civil marriage celebrant, if they change their mind after 90 days, we are prohibiting them from going on that list. We are denying them their rights, Deputy Speaker, to change their religious beliefs and to go on that list. And, Deputy Speaker, that is something that I cannot support. I also, Deputy Speaker, as I said, I'm great concerned that there is also no ability for someone in the future to decide that they want to go on that list. The only people that can go on that list, Deputy Speaker, are civil marriage celebrants that are currently on the list and do so within 90 days. This is something, Deputy Speaker, I also have great concerns about. And the reason I also have concerns, Deputy Speaker, is that we've seen in our society recently about there's a very disturbing tendency about some groups in our society using threats, using violence, using harassment and using intimidation against those that hold a different opinion. This is why, Deputy Speaker, that I believe those that now hold what is a minority religious view in this country on the issue of same-sex marriage deserve some religious protections that we do. Deputy Speaker, I'll be listening to many of my other colleagues during this debate, and I think these amendments that are put forward by many of the colleagues in the coalition have done so in good faith. They should be considered in good faith. And I hope, Deputy Speaker, they were debated that way, and, Deputy Speaker, I'll be reserving my right to support those amendments. But in conclusion, Deputy Speaker, I commend the bill as it stands. I'll still be voting for it, even though I have expressed my reservations as my electorate voted for it. And again, Deputy Speaker, I truly wish all those couples, those same-sex marriage couples, that will have a wedding in the new year, I wish them all the best for the future, and may they enjoy long and happy marriages.